Hi everyone, my name is James Feeney. Welcome to or back to my channel. Today we are here for another spread/reading tutorial. This is one that, again, I've posted on Instagram. It is the inner archetype spread. So I designed this in order to look at the various archetypes that might be existing within me, specifically picking one out that's dominant or really present at maybe a current juncture in my life, and how to best interact with that and to understand it. So this is one that you can use as a periodic check-in where you then would pull a card to symbolize the most present and current archetype that you are interacting with or that you are embodying, and then the cards which will help you to work with that archetype and better understand it. Or you could use this as a big overall reading, like a one-off, where you then pull maybe a major or dominant archetype that is present in your life overall, one that you tend to embody throughout your life, and then use these spread positions in the same way. So depending on how you use it, it's one that you can return to and use as a check-in, or you can also just use it as an overall one-off sort of situation. I used it as more of a check-in to look at the current archetype, because I find that at various points in my life, I do feel like there are different energies present and I'm embodying different roles. So we're going to go through this spread with the cards that I had used, or the decks I'd used in the Instagram. So this is just a sample reading. It's not directed at anybody, so it may lack some specificity, but it's more so that anybody watching this can follow along and hopefully understand the spread positions and how they're meant to work. So the top card where we look at an archetype, I used Carolyn Myss's Archetype cards. So these are really well suited to this reading. I kind of actually made this reading around these cards. Here, I'll show you. I actually got this I had never considered this deck, and I saw it at a secondhand shop for a few dollars and went for it, and I have no regrets. It's a wonderful deck. So it comes with this nice big thicker guidebook. Likewise, I believe it's 70, I can tell you. There are 74 cards, 6 of which are blank. Why do I only have 5? Let's see. Is there another one in here? Perhaps we will come across the other blank card somewhere. But it gives you these blank cards if you want to make your own archetypes because you feel like something is missing from this deck. So we'll keep those out for now. But as you can see, this lends itself really well to the idea of archetypes. We get the light attribute and the shadow attribute of these various archetypes. Oh, here's the other blank card. But yes, so we get a lot of really wonderful ones, and it's interesting because there are some archetypes that I think many of us would associate with positive meanings, but still yet they get shadow attributes, and then there are those that we would potentially have generally negative connotations with, but yet there are light attributes to even the more, I would say, generally negative archetypes, which I tend to like. And then for the tarot cards that we're using, for these bottom 3 spread positions to investigate the archetype, I have the this is the Tabula Mundi, not the Anima Mundi, the Tabula Mundi Tarot, which is just a wonderful Thoth-based deck. Just separating out the astrology cards. And the title card. So that's that. So we'll get right into this. So we've got that. So we'll start at the top with our current archetype present. This is also going to be what part of me is dominant and looking to shine through. And so we have the angel. If you don't have an archetype deck such as this one, I would recommend using, you can really use any deck. You can use a normal tarot deck and embody and look at the archetype that card's attributes might hearken to. You can use an oracle deck. You could even do majors only if you feel like I feel like the majors lend themselves better to large archetypes, but you could use a whole tarot deck and even go for the minors. But those are just a few substitutions. If you do have an archetype deck, it works really well here, of course. But we have the angel, light attribute, with helping those in need with no expectation of return. The shadow aspect being acting innocent or angelic to mislead others, falsely claiming to be in touch with angelic guidance. So that's really interesting. So if we, of course this comes with the light and shadow, but if we were to look at this as an overall archetype, I would start to think about what that might mean in terms of myself. So how I can embody that role. Am I a beneficent force in society for myself and others? Am I really taking on the role of acting upon kindness and selflessness? Am I trying to be somebody who is maybe the impetus for positive change around myself? If I'm looking to have more of a divine connection now, or embody sort of a divinity through my actions and thoughts? So is this something that's currently really affecting me? And if I don't feel like that's the case, maybe it really is the case, and that this is trying to break through and shine out throughout me. And how can I look at that and then hopefully better enable it to do its work through me? So next we're going to look at the positive manifestation of this archetype through me. So this does have the light attributes here, but if we're looking, this is more of an inaction card. So how is this kind of shining through and actually functioning through me as a human being? When we look at this, we see, what beneficent force does this archetype engender in me? So the way it manifests through me is not going to be the same as, say, the same archetype might manifest through somebody else. And so we have the Eight of Wands, swiftness. So I usually tie this card to communication, to, I would say, networking, a lot of social and interpersonal skills. So perhaps this angel archetype is really being embodied through my work with others. Maybe I'm being called to help others, to be an effective communicator and facilitator of change through communication, to use my voice to better facilitate change. So I can look to, say, my writing. I can look to see about the people that I am working with. I can look to my career. I can look to my friendship and groups where there are dynamics of people working together, and how I can best use that aspect of myself to hopefully facilitate the energy of this archetype in the best light possible. So next we're looking at the negative manifestation of the archetype through me. This would be, what challenge to my character does this archetype expose? So viewing this as an obstacle, or viewing the negative aspect as an obstacle to be overcome, or a challenge or trait to be exposed, almost like a negative shadow being brought up that we can then address. So I think that this card can be something to, one, look out for, but two, an area of growth and learning that we're hopefully going to, I would say, work on during this period in time. And so we have the Princess of Cups, the Earth of Water. And I think that this speaks to more so the manifestation of emotions, or the, I would say, the worldly manifestation of the emotions, almost like how they play out. What sort of ways am I interacting with my emotions, and how are they affecting my physical reality? When I'm mad, do I turn people away? Do I shut myself down? When I'm happy and overexuberant, do I override the needs of others in wanting to, say, seek out happiness for myself? Is there a sort of selfishness in the way that I manifest my emotions into my reality? These are all things that I can look at, and potentially with the angel archetype, thinking about, say, the shadow aspect that's already listed here. We have acting innocent or angelic to mislead others. So am I sort of warping this perception of myself that others might have to have financial or tangible gains in some way through emotional manipulation. That's something I might want to look out for. So finally, with this card here at the end, we have, how can I work with this archetype in my life in a helpful way? So this would be more so of a constructive, action-oriented plan of where to go with this archetype, what's next, and how do I use it to its best and most full capacity. This is also, what is a constructive way to utilize the greatest potential of this archetype within myself? So for this one, we have the Ten of Wands, oppression. So we really have that Saturn, Sagittarius. We have Malkuth in terms of the Tree of Life. We have a lot of friction and density here. So I think this would be really trying to test our limits and see what we are capable of during this time. How much can we take on when we embody something that's so seemingly light and divine and helpful and good? What really are our limits when we put ourselves in that position? Can we handle more when we allow ourselves to feel light and be doing something that's good and constructive? Are we better able to suit the needs of ourselves and others? Is there a breaking point to be reached? Is there a lesson to be learned in what our capacities are? These are all things I would consider. Because this feels so dense and earthly, much like the Princess of Cups in an emotional sense, the emotions taking a tangible form, I might even pay attention to this card. I'm getting almost a feeling of seeing how our physical reality plays out in light of this archetype. Less so an emotional change, less so something of the mind and the thoughts, but more so seeing what tangible outcomes and relationships and successes, triumphs, and downfalls happen in light of this archetype, and what can that teach me about myself. So that would be really interesting to look at. Also to see where I might engender some passion or some fire within me. To me, this card feels a lot like the pressure that comes in almost, I would say, a furnace or an oven in trying to pressure cook something into something more solidified. So is this getting me riled up? Am I feeling more impassioned about certain causes and about my emotions and who I am, and trying to seek out beneficent change? Is something getting me particularly stirred up and frustrated? That's something to think about as well. And so, of course, I would hopefully ask anybody doing this to write down your results, to journal a bit, or at least to reflect, take a picture, and return to these things. I would say that there's no set time frame on, say, an attribute or an archetype within you just playing itself out. But I think when you feel like this period has ended and you're on to a new chapter, that would be the time to say revisit this. So I hope that this was helpful. I'd love to know if anybody at home tries this and what your results were, or at least how you found it to work for you. Until next time, bye.